On July 9, 2025, a seismic shift hit the Formula One world when Christian Horner was officially dismissed from his role as team principal and CEO of Red Bull Racing. Yes, the same Christian Horner who helped transform Red Bull from a new energy drink-sponsored team into one of the most dominant forces the sport has ever seen. After 20 years at the helm, Horner's reign came to an end in a move that shocked even the most connected insiders. So what went wrong? What could possibly push a team to oust the man responsible for 7 drivers' championships and 6 constructors' titles? Insiders say it wasn't a single issue, but rather a toxic buildup of internal tensions. The first red flag was the ongoing friction with Red Bull advisor Helmut Marko, a power player in his own right with deep connections to the team's Austrian leadership. Then came whispers of unrest from Max Verstappen's camp. Despite winning titles, Verstappen's inner circle reportedly began losing faith in Horner's leadership style, particularly after the death of Red Bull's founder Dietrich Mateschitz. Mateschitz had long served as a protective buffer for Horner. With him gone, Red Bull's corporate structure began to evolve, and Horner found himself increasingly isolated. The board wanted a fresh start, a new direction, and that led them to Laurent Mekies, a rising figure in the paddock with experience from Ferrari and AlphaTauri. Appointed as Red Bull's new CEO, Mekies officially replaced Horner, marking the end of an era. But if Red Bull thought Horner would quietly disappear into the shadows, they may have seriously miscalculated, because according to a flurry of reports, rumors, and strategic leaks, Horner isn't done with Formula One, far from it. In fact, he might be planning the boldest comeback the sport has seen in years. Enter Operation Grid Shock. Operation Grid Shock. The name alone sounds like something out of a spy thriller, but in the paddock, it's being whispered as the codename for Horner's alleged revenge plot, an ambitious long-term plan to build a rival team capable of dethroning Red Bull by the year 2027. And the first step? Alpine F1. Yes, the same Alpine team that has spent the past few seasons languishing in the midfield. Despite a rich racing heritage under their Renault badge, the team has struggled with inconsistency, poor management, and disappointing on-track performance. In recent years, they've cycled through leadership like a revolving door. Otmar Szafnauer, Laurent Rossi, and others were shown the door in a failed attempt to stabilize the team. Now Alpine finds itself at a crossroads, and Horner, according to reports, wants in. The alleged plan involves Horner acquiring either a significant stake or even full control of Alpine F1, but he won't be doing it alone. Rumors suggest that Bernie Ecclestone, the former F1 boss who ran the sport for decades, is backing Horner financially or politically. Though Ecclestone has been mostly out of the public eye in recent years, his influence behind the scenes remains formidable. If he truly is involved, it adds massive credibility to this alleged operation. Furthermore, Horner is said to be in active talks with key Alpine figures like Flavio Briatore, another former F1 team boss with a checkered but powerful legacy, and Luca De Meo, the CEO of Renault Group. And then there's the timing. In January 2026, Alpine will make a major change by switching from Renault engines to Mercedes power units. This marks a dramatic shift in their technical direction and a potential leap in competitiveness. But what makes this especially interesting is that Christian Horner's non-compete clause with Red Bull Racing ends at the exact same time, January 2026. That means the same month Alpine gets a new, more powerful engine package, Horner becomes legally free to take a new role within Formula One. Coincidence? Probably not. So why Alpine? Why would Horner choose a team that has underperformed for years instead of waiting for an opening at a top-tier outfit? The answer lies in opportunity. Alpine, despite its struggles, has deep resources. Backed by Renault, the team's valuation is estimated at over £1.2 billion. With the right leadership, the right technical direction, and the right funding, Alpine could rise quickly. And with Mercedes engines coming in 2026, one of the biggest technical hurdles will already be addressed. But it's not just about engineering. Horner brings something far more valuable: knowledge. 2 decades of insider intelligence on how Red Bull operates. They know their development cycles, their strategy models, their staff structure, and even their weaknesses. If Horner were to recreate Red Bull's system inside Alpine while adding his own refinements and leadership style, he could fast-track the team's rise. And that's exactly what sources suggest he plans to do. But it gets even more dramatic when we bring Max Verstappen into the conversation. As of now, Verstappen is tied to Red Bull Racing through 2028, but multiple reports confirm that his contract includes several exit clauses. The most notable one: if Red Bull drops out of the top 3 in the constructor standings by mid-season, Verstappen can walk away without penalty. Now imagine this: it's mid-2026, Red Bull is struggling post-Horner, and Alpine is suddenly competitive under Horner's leadership. Would Verstappen consider jumping ship? Some insiders believe he would. After all, Verstappen has a strong relationship with Horner, and his father, Jost, has reportedly voiced frustration with Red Bull's internal politics in the past. This leads us to the potential masterstroke, building not just a rival team, but a super team. Picture it: Horner running Alpine, powered by Mercedes, funded in part by Bernie Ecclestone, advised by Flavio Briatore, and led on track by Max Verstappen. That's not just a competitor to Red Bull, that's an empire in the making. Let's not forget, Horner isn't just a team principal. He's a political operator, a negotiator, a long-term strategist. He understands the sport at every level, commercial, technical, and competitive. He built Red Bull into a machine, and now he may be preparing to use that blueprint to bring it down. So what's Red Bull doing in response? Well, very little, at least publicly. They've tightened up PR communications. Makis has made vague statements about new direction and internal unity, but it's clear there's concern. Red Bull is also reportedly reviewing Verstappen's contract structure to assess their vulnerability, and sources suggest Helmut Marko is trying to maintain his influence while quietly watching Alpine's moves. Meanwhile, Alpine is slowly but deliberately rebuilding. The team is hiring technical personnel. Briatore has resumed an advisory role despite his controversial history, and behind closed doors, they're allegedly in discussions with investors, possibly lining up the financial structure Horner would need to take control or at least lead a management overhaul. So far, there's been no official confirmation from Horner, Ecclestone, Briatore, Alpine, or Mercedes. No one has publicly admitted to any part of this, but in Formula One, silence often speaks louder than words. The timing of events, the alignment of decisions, and the connections behind the scenes all suggest that something big is brewing. Think about it. Red Bull fires Horner. Weeks later, Alpine announces a 2026 engine switch. Around the same time, Flavio Briatore returns as an advisor. Ecclestone is suddenly rumored to be financially active again. Then media insiders begin leaking talk of a long-term strategic operation known as grid shock. Too many dots are connecting to ignore. And here's what makes it even more compelling. The Formula One calendar is entering a new phase. With upcoming rule changes in 2026 and the continued rise of young drivers and manufacturers, the grid is wide open for disruption. Horner might be betting that Red Bull, without its founding architect, will lose the sharp edge it once had. And if that happens, the door is wide open for a new power to emerge. Imagine the story arc. Horner, forced out of the empire he built, returns from the sidelines not just to compete, but to conquer, using his own formula with a new team, a new engine, possibly the same world champion driver, and the backing of the sport's most seasoned political minds. It's not just revenge, it's legacy warfare. So now the motorsport world waits. Will Christian Horner truly stage a comeback and flip the Formula One grid upside down? Will Alpine rise from the ashes of mediocrity to challenge for world titles? Could Max Verstappen walk away from the team that made him a legend to reunite with the boss who believed in him from day one? If even half of these rumors turn out to be true, Formula One is on the edge of a new era. An era defined not by dominance from the front, but by disruption from the shadows. If Operation Grid Shock is real, then Red Bull's biggest threat isn't Ferrari or Mercedes, it's the man they just pushed out of the castle. And in Formula One, there's one truth that always holds. Never underestimate a man with nothing to lose and everything to prove.